whatever you have going on. Feel it completely. It's perfect. It's okay to feel exactly where you're at. No resistance. No wrong. It's perfect. Whatever you have going on is perfect right now. Make the sound of it. You can't do it wrong. It's always perfect. You can't be out of pitch. Make the sound of all of your issues, how you're feeling now, and all of your issues. Right? Meet it head on and let it express itself to tell you what the message is. Make the sound now. Now, if that sound doesn't feel good, let's shift it. Make that sound of that issue, and slowly, ever so slowly, I'm going to shift it to a beautiful sound of light and pure love. Go ahead and make the sound now. And slowly transition to a beautiful sound. remember, feel what you're feeling completely. And then if you don't like it, if it doesn't feel good, slowly shift it with a sound. We're not meant to feel bad here. Go. Hi there. Another presentation with me. I forgot to tell you about some of the things we're doing that are quite new here at the Institute. First of all, let me share my screen. I'm David Gibson. And we've got at soundhealingcenter.com, you can see everything we're doing. We've got, of course, our classes, our sound healing classes. We have online classes. We have classes here at the Institute. We've got over a dozen instructors, and they are really effective. We've been doing it for over 20 years. We also have our store with over 300 items in there, including crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls. We've got books and CDs. We've got CDs for that you place on the body you don't listen to. We've got music CDs. We've also got sound tables and sound lounges and all types of vibroacoustic tools that will vibrate you into bliss. We've got sound pillows, sound dolphins. We've got also bass pod, or bass belt that you can strap on that vibrates. Really good for getting rid of pain. Right? And then we have our sound therapy center where we do voice analysis and we can find out exactly what's wrong with you. Right? And we also do brainwave assessment where we can find your rhythm of your brain and tune binaural beats to it for delta for sleep, theta for creativity, alpha for learning and sports, and then beta for thinking and overcoming ADD. Right? We have a full range of treatments there. A lot of them we do online as well. And then we have our Sound Healing Research Foundation. And this is something I really want to show you because it's brand new. We now have over 400 clinical papers here under soundhealingresearchfoundation.org. And you can search all of the papers under all of these categories. And so it's really the best resource for sound healing clinical papers now. We also have over 400 student research papers that you can check out. And again, they are also all categorized under different categories, so you can search really easily. But then we have a grading system where once you read the paper, you can grade it, and so you can see how cool the paper is. So it makes it easier to sift through all the papers. We also have hundreds of articles and videos about sound healing that we've found over the years that you can check out. Again, also completely categorized, right? So you got sound for all these different issues here as well. And then we also have the research project that we're working on here in the nonprofit, right? We also, if you click on Medical Sound Association in the Research Foundation, you go to the Medical Sound Association site, which has the coolest thing about this is under integrative sound, we've got detailed treatment plans from all of our students for 10 years and also from our Medical Sound Association, which includes over 500 doctors and sound therapists. So the last 2 years we've been refining these treatment plans from our students, and we've got really detailed plans for all the medical details, the approach of how to approach that, the conceptual framework, the safety guidelines, the intake questions you might use, sound treatments, and treatments other than sound, and then homework for that person. For every one of these, for grief, anxiety, depression, each one's about 20 pages long. PTSD, trauma, dementia, addiction, pain, autism, cancer, anger, and sleep. It's an incredible resource, and if you want to add to it, just email me and we can edit or add different parts to it. It's very cool. The other thing I wanted to show you as well is under intake forms, you can go in and enter before and after a treatment on what a level of 1 to 10, what is the severity of the issue, right? So we got a whole list of issues. We also have a whole list of instruments you can use. And what's cool about it is that it gets collated, right? So you can now go to the reports and look, and you can see 326 entries now. And we are getting on average 65.86% of reduction of symptoms. That's unheard of in the medical field. I mean, that's like average of 326 entries. Now you could go to anxiety and filter it for just anxiety. And look, 199 entries. Then we got 69.14 reduction of symptoms for anxiety. Or you can say, okay, anxiety with crystal bowls. Okay, filter that. And we got, okay, here's 162 entries with crystal bowls, 68% reduction in anxiety. I mean, this is really cool. You can use It's not perfectly scientific, of course, but you can use this for any people that think this is woo-woo. I've actually used it on doctors, and they're like, whoa, that's incredible. And very serious scientists, right? Even though it's not like clinical research, it's good data. Right? It's not ideal data, but it shows that how effective what we do is. That's very cool. You can also go from the Research Foundation or from the main site. You can go to the Sound Education Center. This is where we've created over 2,500 exercises for kids at every age group. And we go through all the different areas that we teach. And you can actually download a bunch of exercises for each age group. So we have 3 to 18 months, 18 months to 3 years, and then 3 to 6 years, and 6 to 12, and 12 to 18. So that's our 3 years of work creating those exercises when we got a grant for 100,000. Also, you might know we're doing classes for kids 3 to 6. They started February 21st, so we're already halfway through, but we're going to be doing classes for 6 to 12-year-olds, and we're developing this curriculum to bring into governments and public and private schools around the world. We're setting up a lobbying team. We have bi-monthly meetings that you can join, or sign up to get your kids in the next round. And we're right in the middle of the program now, and it's really cool working with the 3 to 6-year-olds online. It's a little tricky, but it's working really well. So there's a detailed schedule here. If you wanted to join the Sound Education Association, just click on the actual Join SCA, and that's our contact form. Back in the Medical Sound Association, also to join that, click on Join MSA, and we have bi-monthly meetings there with all our doctors and sound therapists to work on treatments. Our next meeting is on schizophrenia, and I forget a couple other things. So check those out. You can get to everything at soundhealingcenter.com. All right. Okay, let's continue with all the different ways that you can release and transform stuck emotions with the voice. Okay. So over the years we've come up with 10 techniques here, and we're going to go through each one by one. And if you would like, and you can make sound right now without freaking anybody out in the neighborhood, then go through these, and we're going to actually do each one of these techniques to release any stuck emotion you might have. So choose an emotion, or you could just watch, of course. You can choose an emotion that you'd like to work on. Stuck emotions are pretty easy to identify because you keep thinking about them, and they keep popping up. Situations keep popping up in your life to remind you, oh yeah, I got a little problem there, right? So choose something you would like to work on, I'm going to be working on something real myself as well as we go through these techniques. So I'm not just faking it here. Now, don't choose fear or anxiety. Later, we can work on fear and anxiety, but the first couple of techniques are not good for fear and anxiety because we're going to be making the sound of the emotion. And I don't think it's ever helpful to make the sound of fear or anxiety. If you're having panic attacks and you make the sound of anxiety, it can trigger a panic attack. It can make it way worse. No. If you're afraid, to maybe get up in front of a crowd, right? You don't go, oh, let me feel this fear completely before I get up in front of a crowd. No way. That's not good for your body. So I don't think it's good to make the sound of fear or anxiety at all, right? So don't choose that, right? Now, we're going to be making the sound of these emotions, and that can be dangerous. It can be dangerous because, especially when you get a group of people doing this, but even on your own, we're going to be probably making some pretty weird sounds, right? And what happens, especially when you get a group, is the dark beings on the other side go, party over there, right? And they show up. So I've had some people that are total psychics in the classes, and they're like, oh, when you make those sounds, all these dark entities show up. I'm like, okay. So years ago, we learned that we have to protect the space. It's kind of like when you go into a sacred temple where people have been in prayer and in really high consciousness for years. It gets imprinted in the space, and you walk in and you go, whoa, right? Well, same thing here. You can actually have negative sounds imprinted in the room, right? So we're going to do this. We set sacred space now to protect the space. We also call in all of our guides and helpers. We'll do the woo-woo part. Archangels, come on and help. Ascended masters and positive aliens. Only for our highest good. Right? I like to visualize an octahedron, which is a four-sided pyramid up with a square base at the floor, and then a four-sided pyramid down into the earth. So we're in, also with a same square base, so we're in this big diamond, right? Very cool, right? Because then that's a coherent, stable vibration that gets imprinted into the room, and we're protected inside of it, right? I think this is important to protect the space so that you don't, just bring up and call in some negative energies, right? Okay, so let's begin. First one is to make the sound of the emotion with the intention of releasing it. This first one is really good if you're resisting an emotion, because often we need to face our fears, right? And really be present with it. Otherwise, it's going to chase us down, right? And so if you're scared of facing some issue in your life, or even a person, right? Then this is really a good one, because you're going to go, not only go and face it, you're going to make the sound of it, of how it feels. But the key to this is with the intention of releasing it. So you're going to hold an intention that this is going to be released. The problem is you can easily make a sound of an emotion and it goes nowhere, right? It just brings it up and you feel like crap, right? And it doesn't do anything. It's like now you're just feeling bad, right? So the intention of releasing it is really critical here. However, sometimes you make the sound of the emotion and you play with the sound and you get it just right, and it actually triggers this wormhole which opens up the emotion back to the core of what caused it, and it just unravels on its own. I've seen that happen. So it's really good to play with the sounds and see if you can get just the right sound to match that emotion. Doesn't happen very often for me, but it's, just feel free to really play with different sounds until you get it, right? Okay, so now we're going to make the sound of the emotion with the intention of releasing it, right? Okay, join in if you can. Here I go in this protected space. I'm not going to do it too long because if you aren't joining in, it's kind of annoying to listen to, right? If you're just watching, it's like, oh boy, that's kind of annoying. Yeah. So I was working on feeling bad about getting upset. That was what I was working on. And it's interesting because I don't think I've ever really sat with that feeling, especially never made the sound of that one. It was pretty cool just to really, face it and really see how it sounds, right? Sometimes you end up in tears. Sometimes you end up laughing. Sometimes you just end up still, right? Sometimes, if you don't really have it down, this intention, you might just feel worse. And also, we're doing this really short. You may need like a half hour doing this if it's like a deep issue that you're working with, right? So you can take notes and then actually do this on your own, especially when you have a place where you can get really noisy, and totally release it, right, if you need more time. Okay. The next technique is to make the sound of the emotion and slowly transform it into a harmonious sound. Let me demonstrate, okay? The slower you do it, the more likely that your subconscious will believe that it's actually been transformed. Now, this one, or all of these, can be really, it can be really effective to play some sound with it, like a crystal ball. Gong could be really cool, right? A lot of different instruments, sound healing instruments, most sound healing instruments could be really good with any of these techniques. And also, maybe you've got some music that you'd like to play that's really good for transforming emotions while you're actually making these sounds, right? So you can try different things. What I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to actually play a crystal bowl while we're actually transforming the sound slowly into a harmonious sound. Okay, so now join me if you like, and we're going to make the sound of the emotion and slowly transform it into a harmonious sound. Okay, here it comes. Again, the slower you do it, the more chances your subconscious will believe it's actually transformed. Sometimes instead of transforming, what happens is you just go to a peaceful place above it, where you're looking down on it from a different perspective. And that's really cool, because now you're not in it, you're just watching it, right? Okay. The next technique is we'll come back to that one. I want to do that in a different order now. You know, some people say you can just simply be present in your body with the emotion, right? So instead of transforming it, just let it be. I actually took a class, online class, where that was their number one technique. Just be present in your body with how your body's feeling with this emotion there. And it dissipates on its own. Not always, I've found, but it can be quite cool. And it can be as simple as that, as just being in the moment and watching it, right? That can be very cool. But, you know, if you've got like a deep trauma, you know, it may take a little more than that to actually get it out of your body. Here's a technique that I really like. And that is, make the sound that the part of the body wants you to make. Now, with this, the first step is you got to figure out where it's being held in the body. Sometimes it's really obvious, right? Oh, my neck, right? That's where my stomach's like all upset, right? Or there's this tension in there's a problem in my knee, right? Or it's just systemic. It's through my whole body, right? So it's often quite easy to figure it out. Sometimes it's not easy. And there are charts that actually show where different emotions get stuck in the body. There's a Chinese chart, and it's like, you know, fear gets stuck in the kidney, anger gets stuck in the liver, right? And there's Jamie Liu mentioned the book, The Emotion Code. It has a whole map of where emotions are in the body based on the physical parts, right? So, and also sometimes you'll find where it is in your body and it moves and you have to chase it down, right? So sometimes it changes, right? So once you find what part of the body is holding this emotion, then you want to make the sound to release it. Make the sound that part of the body wants you to make to release it, right? So there's two ways you can go. You could get very intense and break it up like, ah, I'll do my neck, ah, right? Or you could get very soothing, and I'll send a very soothing sound to my neck. Or you could even do soothing and get in the zone and then break it up with the sound, get intense, and then go back to soothing. Sometimes it's a nice process is Start with soothing, break it up, and then go back to soothing. Whatever, or you could just let spirit guide you and whatever comes through for that part of the body that's holding the emotion, just make that sound. Okay? So I'm now going to tune in to where this energy of being upset with myself over getting upset. Right? That's a nice spiral. Being upset with yourself over something you've done. That's a pretty common one, right? And I'm going to play the crystal bowl again, and we're going to make the sound that the part of the body wants you to make. I got to figure out where it is in my body here first. Okay, let's do it now. Boy, that felt good. So when I scanned my body, it felt like it was in my heart. And it was basically me not loving myself, right? So first I went to my heart to break up that energy. And then I did a lot of love, just sending love to my own heart. I like this one. This one's really good for doing for fear or anxiety, because you're not making the sound of the emotion. You're making the sound for that part of the body. So it can work great for fear and anxiety. Right. Okay, cool. Now let me go back to this other one that I skipped here. This one comes from one of my students in the degree program, Kelly. And it's really, really effective. So the first step is to imagine the emotion in front of you. Sometimes that's hard because people have it in their body and you need to like visualize it in front of you instead. And notice how big it is, right? It can often be pretty big, this emotion, right? And then you can do sound, more your intention, but you just do sound and you visualize it shrinking smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's like a penny in your hand. Really tiny. Right? And then you throw it over your shoulder. And then you make the sound of love to fill in the space where it was. Beautiful thing. First, you got to get it out of your body. It's in front of you. And then making it small. I mean, many cognitive therapy systems, they talk about actually just making your problem small. This is not horrible. It's a bummer, but it's not like the end of the world. Make it small, and then that problem is no longer going to affect you because it's a teensy little sucker, right? Okay, so let's do this one. I'm going to do it without the bowl this time. Okay. I'll stop sharing so you can see me. Okay, here we go. Okay, I visualize this emotion in front of me. I'm taking it out of my body. And now I'm going to make the sound of it and shrink it down. Play with it. You can't get it wrong, right? Just play with it. Really small now. Here goes. Now we're going to do unconditional love to fill in the space. Pretty cool. I like that one. I like it a lot, actually. Thank you, Kelly, for coming up with that one. Okay. Next one is where are we? Okay. So next one is to actually have higher beings make the sound through you to transform the emotion, right? If you haven't checked out Tom Kenyon's the master of this, channeling different beings through him. Right? He's got so many really, really cool beings that come through him. Let's see if I've got like a little recording of Tom Kenyon here, and then thinking to play this. Let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is some beings coming through Tom Kenyon to help with the pineal gland. Check this. I'm going to play just a second here. Of course, that's multi-channel. Here's another one. The Hathor is coming through Tom Kenyon to actually go to a place of oneness. This is Aethos. So that's only Tom Kenyon's voice, actually. No synthesizers, but multi-tracks. I mean, multiple tracks of his own voice, and them coming through. He's got like recordings of all different archangels and ascended masters coming through his voice, and it's really cool. So the whole trick is just to simply get out of the way and let them come through, right? Now, this for some of you, this may seem really weird. If so, don't tell anybody. Right? But otherwise, it could totally resonate with some people, and it's worth trying. As the angel lady, who is it? I can blanking on her name. The woman who wrote all the book on angels. She says the angels are just waiting for you to ask, right? So you could call in angels, archangels. You could call in Gabriel or Archangel Michael. You could call in ascended masters. You could call in Christ energy. You could call in Kuan Yin. You could call in aliens. Hathor's positive aliens, only positive aliens, right? Hathor's the Arcturians, Andromedans, Palladians, Syrians, and ask for them to make a sound through you to transform it. You could do your ancestors. You could do grandma, right? You could do the divas of healing of nature. You could do earth, air, fire, and water of nature. You could do a tree you love, right? You could just tune into the ocean. You could just tune into a bird or an owl or any animal, right? There's all types of animal sounds that can be really healing, right? They've all got their own energies, and then you could, I had a guy, he said, I got a pink unicorn. I'm like, okay, go for it, right? Whatever you want to tune into. But if you don't know what to tune into, you could actually tune into the highest being that's the very best in the entire universe for helping with this issue that you have going on. No use fooling around. Get the very best, right? This is very cool, right? Again, always, always, only for our highest good, right? Because you aren't calling in any boogers, no boogers, right? Just pure beings to help you, right? And they often know precisely what sound to make, right? When I do this, I often will like call in a being, and then I'm like, not working. Let me try a different one. So I often go through 2 or 3 or 4, before I find one that feels really good, right? So if you like, let's call in a being and have it make the sound through you for this issue. I'm going to go ahead and play the bowl here again for this one. Okay. Sometimes bowls help bring in different beings. Sometimes they get in the way too. But we're going to play it anyway here. Okay. So I'm going to play with some different higher beings for my issue here. That was effective. I first went to Kuan Yin and compassion for myself, and I kind of liked it. And then I just felt this other energy coming in and going, no, come over here. And then I thought, was that Christ energy? And then it was Mother Mary. And Mother Mary just took over my whole energy field. And I was just like filled with that energy of love. Oh, it was really sweet. Totally the best for loving myself, right? Just so sweet. I liked that one. So you can play with that one. Again, if you think it's just too weird, don't tell anybody. Right? Okay. The next one is just go straight to source, right? A lot of people say these higher beings are just intermediaries to source energy. Source is the big kahuna. Of course, source is like the whole deal. Source is God, right? It's like it knows precisely what you need, and it's more powerful than any higher being, because all higher beings are part of source, right? All beings are part of source. So people often say, just go straight to spirit, right? And let it make the sound through you. It knows best. It's really intelligent, right? So I'm not going to play the bowl, because I often find that the sound of source energy is not any particular note. It's all frequencies. So even making sound of it is kind of a little distracting, but I'm going to do it and let it come through and just clear this whole energy of feeling upset about being upset. Almost seems silly now. Okay. Okay, join in if you like. Hi-yo, home, home, home. Worked for me. Worked for me, right? Oh my God, that was pretty cool. I'm feeling pretty blissed out here. What issue? Again, whatever resonates with you, use that technique, right? Whatever works for you, try it. A couple of others that we can do briefly here. Next one is to send love to the emotion or the part of the body where it's stuck. Love is the best, right? So if you got like the emotion, I could send love to the emotion, right? Say, or especially good for fear or anxiety. Or send it to the part of the body where it's stuck. Or just send it to your whole self. If you can do universal love, it's even better. Universal love's the best, right? To tap in. But you can just send, most basic is just send the sound of love to your own heart. Okay, let's practice that. Okay, everybody send a soft sound of love to your heart. Start by just sending love to your heart energetically. Now, if that had a sound, do any sound. You can't do it wrong. It's always perfect. Send a sound of love to your heart. That's really good if you're not feeling good enough for any reason. A lot of emotions come with the energy of not feeling good enough about yourself or not loving yourself. So that one's really good. It's also that one's really good when you're dealing with grief because you realize you've got all the love in the world right here. It's infinite and it's never going away, right? So you don't have to worry about it leaving, right? Just send love to yourself. Again, if you can access universal love, that's the best, right? Now you can also, let's see what else we have here. Next one is resonate higher emotions of gratitude, compassion, love, and joy. Now again, as I mentioned in previous presentations, sometimes people feel that they'll just go to love or go to like these higher emotions and just skip over the emotion. And that can be bypassing, and if you don't deal with it or face it, it will get you in the butt, right? It's known to sneak up right behind you and just get you, right? So, but what's really cool is if you go to these higher emotions, even skip it and go to the higher emotions and then come back to the emotion, you now have more capacity and a higher perspective to actually deal with that booger, right? And it's perfect, right? So sometimes the first thing to do is to skip it. You're going to come back, right? You're not skipping it forever. Just skip it and go to these higher energies and then now look back at the other one. It's kind of like what we did earlier where we slowly transformed the sound into a beautiful sound and you go to this higher place and you look back, right? Sometimes it actually changes, but just going to this higher place and looking at it from a different perspective. So just make the sound of love. Or joy is a little hard to go to. Sometimes that's a pretty big jump unless you're not attached to your emotions anymore. It's really cool when you get so disattached or not separated from your emotions, but where you don't identify with them. that way you can easily shift, because I can be a little depressed, right? And somebody can come up and say just the right thing, and within 5 seconds I'll be giggling, right? Because I'm not very attached to my emotions anymore. Whereas someone that's been in depression for months, this is going to be much harder. It's going to be really hard, right? So it's a matter of, getting less attached to your emotions, where you can switch around. So joy for a lot of people is kind of a high bar to go to when you're, in the fire, right? So try, but gratitude can be cool. Compassion, love is the easiest, I find, right? It's the easiest of all of them. Okay, so just get to that beautiful state, and then you got more capacity to deal with the issue, right? The next one is to resonate your soul frequency. It's really the frequency in you, or rhythm in you, where you are at peace. And we do a whole assessment where we help you find that note and that rhythm and give you a CD in that. But you can also just go to the energy of your soul and feel your soul energy, and which is really stable. There's nothing more stable than your soul, because it never wobbles, right? I think your soul's just perfectly still, looking at the rest of you going, calm down, what's your problem, right? I mean, it's like, what are you doing now to take us away from source? Right? So then you tune into that soul energy and you go, oh. That could be one to play with if that resonates with you. So look at all these different techniques and notice which one works for you, right? Which one resonates with you. And different issues or different techniques will work better for different issues too, maybe, right? But check out the list and see what resonates with you and what might work for your issues. So here's your homework. I don't know if we're supposed to give homework in conferences, but here you go. Write down every emotional issue you haven't resolved. Again, easy to notice those ones that keep showing up, right? Keep thinking about, and go through and use one or more of these techniques to release that issue. One by one. Might take a half a day, might take a half hour, might only take 5 minutes. Go through it and release every one. If emotions are 80 to 100% of all disease, this is huge. I mean, this is over the top huge. You have the capacity to heal every single bit of your being with just these techniques. Number one thing is to believe you can, right? And then just do it. It's interesting. We're working with the kids from 3 months all the way up to 18 years. And I thought when we were putting these exercises together for the kids, of all the exercises, I'm like, can't wait to bring these 10 techniques in for the kids to release their emotions. And I presented it to our staff who was working on all the exercises, and one of our instructors said, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Why?" She said, "There's so much trauma in schools. It could bring up trauma, and then even if they release it completely, they could go home, get in a fight with their parents and get beat up or killed, or they could run away, or child services could end up taken away. They really need support if it's a serious issue." I thought, okay, we'll start this a little later for the kids, and we'll actually have classes on frameworks for understanding emotions, and especially teach compassion, so they can have compassion for those that have helped contribute to these wily emotions, right? So they don't go and try and, or they don't get really upset with them, right? But this is when we start the program. If we work with the kids from the beginning, like at 1.5, which is exactly what we're doing, and continue having them express themselves as they did as babies, then they never lose this God-given ability to actually express themselves and release every emotion there is, right? Then when we do the exercises, it's like, I already knew this as a baby, and they never lose it. And then you continue making the sound of how they're feeling, and tell them, all the kids, if you're not feeling good, first, make the sound of how you're feeling and feel it completely. Wherever you're at is perfect and okay. Make the sound of how you're feeling and express it completely. If you have to go in a bathroom or somewhere else so you don't upset others, go for it, and make the sound. And then, if you don't like the sound and the feeling you're having, shift it. And the number one thing we showed the kids is to slowly transform it into a beautiful sound. You don't even have to transform it into another emotion. Just transform it into peace, which is a stable, consistent vowel. And make the transition as slow as you need to actually shift it to a place where you feel good. You're not meant to feel bad inside. So then, this is dramatic. We're talking serious emotional intelligence for kids growing up, who will then teach their parents. And maybe the parents will get it, right? And it will. It'll happen. It's so cool. We've got the kids totally making sound with their parents now and doing sound hugs, right? Hugging their parents with sound. Let's do a little sound hug to end here. Imagine, we've been a little short on hugs lately. Imagine this huge puppy pile of people in one big hug. Hug them all and make the sound of how that feels. Thanks for listening. On the next presentation, I'm going to go into all the different ways to hold frequency in the midst of a challenge, to be at peace in the midst of a challenge, and the different ways to look at higher consciousness in relation to emotions. Alice Bailey talks about this a lot, and a lot of it comes from there. So until next time, thank you for listening. See ya. Actually, I want to play a song that I did called Emotional Stress Relief to actually end today. So enjoy this song. It's really a quantum healing field that's embedded in it for the releasing of emotions. Enjoy.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Visit newearth1.com.